But before we give to the audience, Lucia, maybe you can tell us more about what you said before we started the film. You had a different project in mind. You had a classical documentary in mind, I think. Can you maybe just tell us first, what was the original idea? What was the film you thought you were going to do? And then we continue with what changed.
Okay. The original idea was to do a classical documentary, just listening the boys and girls at school, because I've been working with some of them, because I do fiction and documentary. And in some fictions in Brazil about violence, about favelas, in general, this group of theaters that exist they are NGO in the favelas, and they are always presented in the fiction films. The most known is Seat of God. I don't know if you know, but it's the most known. As presented as bandits, just as bandits. Bandits?
Bandits, the gangsters.
Gangsters, yeah. Because, and in reality, in the favelas, 99% of the people are working people, but always it's presented as a place of violence. And I know the boys, I know the girls, and I wanted to do something different. So the idea was to give them the possibility of talk about them, about the violence, about the racism, about all that. So the idea original was a very classical documentary. I would go to school, and then they will talk about it. But everything was different. And well, I think that cinema is a collective idea. So for me, it's very important to accept the reality, accept and change, and with the reality. And so the first school, it was a high school, and then I was forbidden for the state, because in Brazil it's different. The kindergarten and the first.
Here it's elementary school.
The elementary school belongs to the major, and the high school belongs to the state. No. And the major, we had the license because we had the support of the film commission of the major. But the state, they just said, no, we are not interested in that film. And then I was forbidden to shoot in the most important. It would be in the high school, where the boys and girls has more capacity to explain. And then I said, well, as I do fiction, no problem. I'm not going to give up my idea, the documentary. I'm going as a fiction. I'm going to rent a school, and I'm going to rent the bus, and then I'm going to take them to the place, to the set. But what was surprising for me was, because I was very worried. I thought that they were not going to be so free in another place, and with an actress, because the teacher, she's incredible, but she's an actress. And they didn't know her. But of course, I chose her because she was someone that worked with this NGO, and she's black, and she lived all that. So it was very interesting, because I asked her just to start the discussion and to say we are going to discuss the question of racism, but everybody was so moved, with the stories, that she was also, and she started speaking about her. And so everything was incredible. Perhaps more than if it was in the classical documentary. We never know, because well, we don't have an answer for that, but perhaps.
But I find the very first big scene quite interesting because it is not a fiction film.
No, it's not.
And
I asked
in
them.
the beginning,
This is
it looks
documentary and not a fiction. I asked them, and the answer was incredible. No, they said, this is a documentary because it's true. It's incredible. No?
So it starts like it could be a documentary, and then a classical documentary. You see the kids in school, and they have the school discussion, and at some point, I think in the audience, you're like, "Huh, there are many different cameras, and is this a normal school?" And then the camera goes back, and we see you as a director in the shot as well. Why did you choose?
And we were
to do
crying. We were crying. It's true. Yeah. Because we didn't expect all that.
Was it important for you to also make people understand that this is not a classical setup? Because it's quite surprising. You think you watch a classical documentary footage of kids in school, then we pull back, we see you as the director, obviously, and you're breaking down this fourth wall.
Yeah, I don't know, perhaps because of an ethical thing, I think it's important to say what's true. Yeah. And the truth was that we were there, that it was everything true, as they say, but we were there, and it was forbidden, it was another school, and so I think it was important because for me, the relationship with the public, with you, is the most important. I think that ethically I must say the truth. So it was important for me that, yeah.
But it seems from this, well, at least early in the film that we see, there's an early scene where the kids are put in a position and they start talking about their own life. There are many more layers of staging and of creative collaboration with the kids, right? Because you bring in the theater play, you bring in the dance, other forms of expression than just spoken word as you would maybe find in a documentary.
Yeah,
can you tell us about this?
In the second school, it happened another thing that changed everything again. Because it would be, it's a school very near to a great favela that's very violent and so on. There are a lot of police operations and things like that. Complexo Alemão. It's funny because it's called. No, I'm not. There is a Brazilian here. Okay, you understand? No? Yeah.
Explain, please.
Do I need to explain? They are not going to love it. Why? It's called Complexo do Alemão. Alemão is German in Portuguese. And they call the enemy German. I don't know why. Perhaps because of Second War, I don't know. But anyway, in the traffic, they call the enemy German. Yeah. And this is called Complexo do Alemão. It's a big favela, very, very big. And well, we're doing a research in that school. That was an incredible school. The director was a black woman, very strong, very good. And we did 3 weeks of research. We did everything to be. And then one day before it started the police operation, I can shoot. Of course, I'm not going to put the crew in generous. And then I can shoot. But I started. Well, this film was not doing as a regular documentary. You know, we stopped it and then we researched. Well, we couldn't shoot it. Then I decided to do the performer with the masks, and the mask was their idea. It's very beautiful, no? And well, we because the idea of shoot with Clara dos Anjos, that's a very important writer in Brazil, a classical, one of the first black writer, and one of the first that discussed the racism in Brazil, and it was his last book. And I had the idea to put the theater, to put the book of Clara dos Anjos. since the start. That was an idea. So I started working with the group of theaters in 3 different favelas. In Vidigal, that's very near to the rich neighborhood in Brazil. Grupo Vozes near Ipanema. And Arteiros, that is inside City of God. It's a great favela called City of God, the same name of the film. And then we, all of them had experienced the police operations. And then I asked them, what do you feel about that? We did a lot of rehearsal, but it was just a question, you know. They started, and then we started doing the rehearsal. And João Vitor, that was the coordinator of one of these groups, he had a good idea to separate different groups and mixing them from the different groups, and just ask them, what would do about that? And then they did it, and then that's the film.
It's quite beautiful.
Yeah, it was very, very beautiful experience. And the theater also was very different because of them. Because when I did as a fiction film. In a fiction film, we ask the cast to come, and then we read the script. You know, that's regular. And then I started reading with them. But Lima Barreto is a writer from the start of the 19th century, so the language is very old. It's very difficult to speak. The first time I asked them to read, it was terrible. I said, no, that was a terrible idea. It's not going to work that. The second time, they started laughing about the language. And I said, oh, that is, we need that. That's the reality. And then I changed it also because I was going only the theater and the discussion of today. And then we put also the rehearsal with the jokes. And
Can I maybe ask you a more technical question about this also? Because as we see, the stories that are shared are very emotional themselves, and they also provoke strong emotional reactions. You told us that the kids in school, it's a very artificial situation in a way. It's not a class group, it's not their school, it's a teacher that is an actress. How did you create an environment that the kids were feeling free enough to share things?
I was so attached as you. I didn't create anything.
What did you
it was
just talk
incredible
about?
Because, well, they started, when we started, they started crying. I said, please, that's a film. We need each one to speak. And then the girl that starts the film. Mm-hmm. And then the second started, then the third started, then they started speaking. It was incredible. For us, it was like that, you know. I didn't do anything.
You must have done something so they felt safe to share. I mean, it's not something you would talk to everyone about.
They liked me because I was in the school. I was there in the school for some times, and so.
So they already knew you.
There was that in the film. I cut it because it was too much for me. They said, no, she's okay. She's very good. Yeah, that was the only thing. Yeah. It was incredible, no, because that's the reality. The moment one speaks, the other starts speaking, the other starts speaking, the other starts speaking. The only thing that I did in the edition was to separate the subjects, you know. Yeah, the racism on one side, the
homophobia, transphobia.
Yeah, the transphobia, you know. I just separate. But it was started like that, you know. Yeah.
Thank you for presenting such a wonderful film, Playtime. And thank you all for being here and for the great questions and the emotion. Thank you so much. I hope we'll see you in the next couple of days. And a great big applause for Lúcia Murat. Thank you.
Thank you.